calling all the first-time home buyers. If you are wondering what can you find in that 600 to 800,000 price point right here in the town of Kitchener as of spring 2024, then you do want to stick around, because right here in this video we're going to take a look at 3 homes in 3 different price points of 6, 7 and 800,000 to give you guys a really good idea as to what you can find as a first-time home buyer working with that budget of 600 to 800,000 in the town of Kitchener. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, playing, working in Kitchener, Cambridge and Waterloo, then subscribe below and tap on that bell for notifications so you can be the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener. My name is Dharmik Dixit. I'm a local real estate agent serving Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo and surrounding areas. I do get calls, texts, emails from people just like you who are looking for help in making their move in and around Kitchener, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 90 days, be sure to reach out. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or you can even schedule a Zoom call. All the info you will find right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you guys make a smooth move in and around Kitchener, Ontario. So right now I'm in the Pioneer Park neighborhood. And in case you're wondering, what is this building with the colorful blocks wrapped around it that you can see right behind me? That's the museum in Kitchener. It's located in the Pioneer Park neighborhood, and definitely, worth checking out if you are in this area. And, especially if you got young kids, definitely I would say worth taking a look at. Honestly, I have a young child and I'm yet to visit this place, but, let me know in the comments below if you've been here. But what I've heard about the place is, there are a lot of, local art exhibits. They have exhibitions happening throughout the year, and the entry fee is also not that bad. You can spend a really good time here, and, right around this neighborhood, I'll tell you a bit more about it as we head to the first property. But this whole neighborhood is actually surrounded by lots and lots of green. And, right not too far away, just a short walk from where I am right now, there's actually a hiking trail that connects to nearby parks within this neighborhood. So that's the best part about Kitchener that we love here is, the fact that we are surrounded by lots of green spaces, lots of outdoor nature to immerse yourself in. So just like I said, just a quick glimpse of the museum in Kitchener. And I'm gonna head to the first place, which is actually within this neighborhood, just about a 3-minute drive from where I am right now. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. All right, so I'm at my first stop here, and the house that I'm about to show you is actually the one that's, literally about 3 minutes away from where I was by that museum. But, just take a look at this house that's recently sold for just about $603,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 washroom. So you have 1 full and 1 half 2-piece washroom. And you're looking at a 2-story layout. So basically you have on the main floor, as you can see on the pictures, the living room, the dining area, and the kitchen. And then upstairs is where you have 3 bedrooms and 1 full washroom. And there is a finished basement in this house, so offering an additional about 400 square feet of living space. Now, as you can make it out, like this is a condo town community. So the house itself is built in 1977, and you're looking at about close to 1,200 square feet. To be exact, 1,175 square feet of above ground living space. And then, like I said, the finished basement does offer an rec room with an additional living space of about 400 square feet roughly. So there is a condo fee of about $360 per month. So that's the added cost you will have. And more than likely, in the 600,000 price point, you will likely be looking at something like this where, if you go with something not too old, then you will be looking at definitely something with a condo fee of about somewhere between $200 to $400. Some of the condo town communities in the Pioneer Park neighborhood are actually notoriously high, like as high as $500 and $600. So although obviously the price points will be much lower, but that's where you have to pick some bets and decide where you want to go. But what I'm trying to say, this is, like I said, $603,000, sold in February of 2024. To be exact, it sold on February of 9th, 2024. But let's say if you were to go a little bit higher, not even too high, let's say to 650, mid 6 to high 6, 650 to 670, you could definitely aim for something a bit more freehold, at least no condominium fees, more or less about the same size. slightly newer construction as well. I can give you an example. The client of mine just recently bought a 3-bedroom, very similar layout, about 1,200 square feet, freehold townhome that's built in 2008 in the Huron South area, and they paid about $670,000. So, like I said, as you approach that mid to high 600, definitely your options will open up to a more of a freehold, no condominium fees, no restrictions. As you rightly know, whenever you are a part of this condominium corporations, obviously you do have to abide by the rules, the bylaws. You do pay a fair share of the maintenance of the common areas. So some people do prefer it. Many of these condo corporations do cover things like exterior, the roofing, the windows, stuff like that. But obviously, one way or another, it does come out of the pocket of the homeowners. And as you know, over time, these fees do actually go up over time, every year to some extent, to match with the inflation. And rightly so. If you live there, let's say for 5 or 7 years, and the condo fee has gone up from $360 to let's say $450, well, definitely the buyer of your home will definitely think about whether to buy this or something like freehold, right? So what I'm trying to say is it will actually bring down the value of the home in case the condominium corporation is not that efficient, the money is not managed properly, and let's say the prices were to go down, you will be the one to pay for it. So not a lot of people are a fan of condo fees, especially when it comes to townhomes. But if your budget is tight, and if you're working with a tight budget of 600, let's say low 6, well, definitely Pioneer Park will still give you some options, but this is ideally what you're looking at. So what I'm gonna do is give you a glimpse of this neighborhood. Like I said, you're surrounded by lots and lots of lush green. Just a short walk from this, where I am right now. There's a big plaza where there's Zeher's grocery store. They have LCBO, Shoppers Drug Mart, Dollar Store, the banks, pretty much everything. I think a bunch of restaurants as well. So everything you need on a regular basis is right here in this neighborhood. As you can rightly say, this is an established neighborhood. Right next to it is Dune South, which is one of the newer neighborhoods, but that's where you will not find a lot of options if your budget is around 600. But on the other hand, Pioneer Park will give you a handful of options between that 6 and 700,000, whether it is a condominium townhouse community like this one, or as you can see on the other side of the street, these are all the freehold homes. If you are into that 700 price point, definitely you can aim for something like a semi or a detached, split level homes, such as a back split, a side split, or a raised bungalows located on a decent sized lots within this Pioneer Park neighborhood. So majority of the construction you will find here is into the 60s, 70s, 80s, some 90s, but not a lot after that in this neighborhood. But like I said, just next to it is Dune South, which is one of the highly desirable neighborhoods. Pioneer Park is equally good, but it's just that you will deal with some of the daily construction, but will give you some great options if you're on a tight budget. So that's a bit about this. What I'm gonna do is actually head back to my car. I did actually walk quite a lot, but I'll take a stroll back to my car and then, like I said, drive around quickly around this neighborhood to give you guys a glimpse of what this neighborhood looks like. And then I'll see you at the second stop, which is gonna be in the 700,000. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. Right, so I'm at the second stop here, and the house that you can see right behind me, that's a 3-story layout. It's a freehold townhome. That's the one that sold for $705,500. It was actually listed for $675,000, but sold for $705,500 just in the second week of February 2024. So there you go. That's your second property, giving you guys an idea about what you can find in the 700s. And as I mentioned earlier, as you go into high 6, low 7s, definitely you can aim for a freehold property. Even though it is a townhouse, it's a whole freehold townhome community. We are in the Laurentian West neighborhood of Kitchener, and just to tell you guys a little bit about this neighborhood, this is filled with the amenities. The house that I showed you is actually built in the 2002. The square footage, you're looking at about 1,400 square feet of living space above ground, offering 3 spacious bedrooms and then 2 full washrooms above ground. And in the basement, there is a finished basement as well, offering you close to 500 square feet of additional living space with another washroom in the basement. So, overall, you're looking at close to 1900 square feet of living space, including the basement. And like I said, just sold for 705. And what you can see right behind me, all around, this is all the condo town community. But within the Laurentian West, majority of the homes you will find will be built in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. You will not find a lot of new construction, up to 2010 at the most, but not a lot has been built after this in this neighborhood. But on the contrary to this, the neighborhood itself is very well established. You're very close to Highway 8, which is about 5-minute drive. In terms of shopping, you have plenty of options. The Sunrise Shopping Center that I've talked about in many of my videos, it's basically a shopping plaza, like an outdoor strip plaza with a bunch of big box stores, Walmart, Home Depot, and a bunch of other stores. It's just about a 5-minute drive from pretty much any part of this neighborhood. And you have great schooling options. Like I said, highway proximity is just about 5 minutes. So that's what a lot of people like about this neighborhood. And the depth and diversity of real estate you find in the Laurentian West, whatever your budget and price point may be, all the way from 700 to 8 and 9, you can find single garage detached, double garage detached. So any price point that you're working with, you will definitely find a handful of options right here in this neighborhood. But a pretty nice and quiet neighborhood. We are on the west end of Kitchener, unlike the earlier home that I showed you in the 600s. That was on the east side of Kitchener. So if you don't want to go too much inward, then definitely Pioneer Park would be an option. But this is kind of on the west end of Kitchener. Further west, we have Trustler. And as you go further, we have Highland West. And then comes the Waterloo. So, you're further west and further inward, you will have to go to Highway 8. In case you're wondering of commuting back to GTA, you will get onto Highway 8, which is about 5 minutes from here. And, then maybe drive another 10 minutes or so on Highway 8 to get you to the Highway 401. And then from there, you obviously head to the Greater Toronto area. So that's a bit about this neighborhood and the house that I showed you. Looking at the pictures, as you can see, it's a pretty decent house, very well maintained, very interesting layout for a 3-story townhome. And I've actually done a tour of a similar home that one of my clients bought last year. But pretty much every neighborhood that I'm mentioning here in this video, I've actually covered an extensive tour of those neighborhoods. So feel free to check them out on my channel. And I've covered an in-depth discussion about all these neighborhoods in my other videos as well. So, feel free to check them out as, if you want to dive further in. But what I'm going to do is, as I always do, head back to my car and show you guys a glimpse of this particular neighborhood. So you get to see what you can find, the type of homes, just to get the vibe of the neighborhood. And then I'll see you at my third stop, which is going to be in the 800,000. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. All right, so we are at the third stop here, and I'm soon gonna approach the property that's in the 800,000, and I'll show you what that looks like. But just to pick up from where we had left into that 700,000 price points, obviously we saw the home that's recently sold for 700, like the low 7. Now, in case you are a first-time home buyer or a buyer in general with that budget of 750, let's say mid to high 700,000, and you're asking yourself, Dharmik, what can I find if my budget is rather a little bit higher? I'm not in the low 7, but I'm rather fitting in the mid to high 700. Well, you got a couple of great options here. So one of them is, you could go for a rather bungalow style detached homes as you approach that, mid to high 700,000. Just to give you a couple of examples, like there's a neighborhood here on the west end of Kitchener, Forest Heights. That's where you can find some decent split level homes, either back split, side split, raised bungalows. Some of them do come with finished basement as well. And that could be falling within that mid to high 700,000. Apparently a client of mine actually just bought it last December of 2023, a detached bungalow with close to 1,200 square feet above ground and another 1,000 square feet below ground, and we paid roughly $760 for that. So you could find something like that in some of the desirable but established neighborhoods of Kitchener. Or you could go for something newer. So if you have a criteria where you don't want to settle for anything older than, let's say, 10 years, well, an answer for you would be you could go for, let's say, a neighborhood like Dune South or Idlewood or Grand River South, further east, where there are lots of newly built homes, not too old, within the last 10 years or so. And you could go for a decent layout of about 15 to 1600 square feet, although they are townhome, but a much more spacious layout. And you will definitely see a lot more space in those townhomes compared to some of these homes in 1300 range. So those are the couple of great options you can look for. And that's where you have to kind of some decision making to do, whether you go for something that's detached, slightly older, like I said, the bungalow style homes, or you would rather go for something newer, but you will settle with townhome, but in a newly established neighborhood. But that's just a food for thought for you in case you are working with that mid to high 700,000 and you're asking yourself, what can you find in those price points? And now we're off to the final stop here, and the house that I'm about to show you is the one that has recently sold into the low 800, to be exact, $810,000. It's a single garage detached home, pretty spacious layout. But just take a look at it right behind me. What you can see is the one that has sold in February of 2024, just in third week of February, for $810,000. You're looking at 3-bedroom, 3 washrooms. So I'll tell you a bit more about it. So it's a 2-story layout, 3-bedroom on the second level. Then there is a finished basement where there is a rec room and a full washroom in the basement level below ground, offering an additional close to 500 square feet of living space. So overall, you're looking at close to 1400 above ground and roughly 500 below ground. So close to 1900 square feet of living space in a single garage detached. As you approach that, high 7, low 8, like I said, you definitely can aim yourself a detached home. Just to note, this house is built in 1993, so it's not one of the newest of the neighborhoods. Highland West is one of those neighborhoods which has majority of the homes built into the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Not a lot of that new construction built after that. So you'll find a lot of homes in that age in this neighborhood. But we're pretty much at the border of Kitchener and Waterloo at this point. Highland West is maybe the west, the most west you could get in Kitchener. But the neighborhood itself is pretty good. It gives you almost immediate access to Highway 8, shall you need to go either direction, east or west. And then at the same time, lots of shopping options. Living in this neighborhood, you could definitely, access yourself some great amenities in the town of Waterloo by the University Avenue. And, whether it's shopping, dining, to give an example for shopping, people living in this neighborhood will have access to the Boardwalk Shopping Plaza, which is apparently in Waterloo, but still closely accessible from this neighborhood. And then you will have Fairview Park Mall, which is again, about 10 to 12 minute drive from any part of this neighborhood. Now, while we did look at a house in the low 800,000, in case you are a buyer into, let's say, mid or high 800,000, and you're wondering what can you really find in that budget and how is it different from what we just saw into the low 800, well, I can give you a couple of options that you can avail yourself if you're a buyer in that price range. So as you approach that mid to high 800,000, either you can go with a bungalow style home if you're rather going for, let's say, slightly older construction. You're looking at a far bigger lots, close to average 5,000 to 6,000 square feet lot. And in terms of living space, you can be looking at somewhere around 12 to 1,500 in a bungalow style layout. Just keep that in mind, because bungalow style is where all the living space is on the same level. And then you will have a finished basement. A client of mine just recently bought something similar with a separate entrance basement into the low 800 to somewhere close to mid 840 to be exact, where we had like close to 1,000 square feet of living space in a finished basement. Well, it can be a huge mortgage helper. If you rather want to stick to something newer, well, as you approach that mid to high 800,000, you can definitely aim for like a bigger layout, close to 1,500 and up. You might be able to avail yourself 4-bedroom layouts in rather one of the newly established neighborhoods, but you will definitely be able to find something around single garage detached, close to 4,000 square feet. And like I said, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet of above ground living space with a finished basement as you approach that, mid to high 800,000. Well, as you get into the nines and the millions, well, that's where, you will be able to definitely look into a rather double garage detached and cross that 2,000 square feet of living space. But we will dive into that. Actually, I'm going to do a second version of this video, something similar, but rather into the 1 million and then 1.1 to give you guys an idea as to what you can find in those price points. So in case you are working with that price point, stay tuned, because I'm gonna do a second version of this video to give you guys an idea about that. But like I said, this video was rather dedicated to the first-time home buyers or the buyers in that 600,000 to 800,000 price point. That's the majority of my first-time home buyers where they fit, and that's why I thought this might be a good idea to give you guys a good understanding of what you can really find in Kitchener at the current market of February 2024 in that price point. Now, before we wrap this video, what I'm gonna do is jump back in my car, drive you around this neighborhood of Highland West to give you guys an idea as to what that neighborhood looked like. But nonetheless, I hope you did get some value. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and tap on that bell for notification so you can be the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener. Once again, whether you're thinking of moving 9 days to 9 days, be sure to reach out. All the info right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you guys make a smooth move in and around Kitchener. Until next time, well, I do hope to show you around town.